Hey guys, so I got some breaking news. This just happened today, and I wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. I think it's very important, not only because you guys need to know because it's just happening, but also it's to bring awareness to you and to the people in Chicago. I have a lot of family that's in Chicago, so I'm very concerned for their safety, whether they're left or right leaning. This is from the Chicago Sun-Times. Federal agents shoot woman, they said, boxed in authorities on Chicago's southwest side. This just happened today, October 4th, 2025 at 2:42 p.m. Authorities were on patrol when they were rammed by 10 cars, according to a statement from the Department of Homeland Security. The woman who was shot was armed with a small semi-automatic weapon, prompting officers to open fire. DHS said she was taken in fair condition to Mount Sinai Hospital. U.S. Border Patrol shot a woman Saturday morning on Chicago's southwest side, marking the second shooting since President Donald Trump administration launched an aggressive immigration enforcement operations in the area last month. Tricia McLaughlin, a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, said, quote, "The shooting erupted after patrolling agents were rammed by 10 cars and boxed in. Agents then fired defensive shots when they discovered the woman who was armed with a semi-automatic weapon while driving one of the cars," McLaughlin said. The Chicago Sun-Times and WBEZ have not independently verified the Fed's account. The exact time and location of the shooting weren't immediately known. McLaughlin said, quote, "No law enforcement officers were seriously injured, and the wounded woman drove herself to the hospital to get care for the wounds. But Larry Mert, a Chicago Fire Department spokesman, said she was found near 39th and Kedzie Avenue and taken in fair condition to Mount Sinai Hospital," which sucks for her because Mount Sinai sucks. Anybody from Chicago knows that. There's 2 hospitals you don't go to. Well, 3. You don't go to Cook County, you don't go to Mount Sinai, and you don't go to Holy Cross. Just letting you guys know. Chicago police records shared with the Sun-Times show that the Border Patrol agents had called for assistance, reporting that roughly 30 agents had been surrounded by a large crowd of people, but police officials weren't sent to help. The records show a police spokesperson said officers ultimately responded to a call of a person shot in the 3900 block of South Kedzie Avenue to document the incident and mainly maintain safety and traffic control for all living and working in the area. But the Chicago Police Department is not involved in the incident its investigation. Federal authorities are investigating the shooting, the spokesperson said. An angry crowd gathered in the area Saturday afternoon to protest the shooting and were met with pepper balls and tear gas deployed by federal agents. Elizabeth Ruiz said agents had also rammed a vehicle into her son's truck earlier and taken him into custody. Her 21-year-old son, who is a U.S. citizen, was being held inside a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement vehicle nearby. "Why would they take him? He was just at the wrong place at the wrong time," said Ruiz, 51, of Gage Park. "My son has nothing to do with that. They need to let him go." A Bryant Park resident said he looked out the window of his home after hearing roughly 4 gunshots and saw federal agents. "It's scary and it's wrong," said Matthew, 34, who did not want to share his last name out of fear of his safety. The shooting comes weeks after the federal immigration agents fatally shot a 30-year-old Mexican immigrant during a traffic stop in northwest suburban Franklin Park, officials said. Sergio Villegas Gonzalez was killed September 12 when he allegedly resisted and attempted to drive his car into ICE officers, dragging one officer who then opened fire, DHS said. Villegas Gonzalez was pronounced dead at the hospital. Notice how they twist that, right? They kind of give you the truth, but then they lie. Notice how they said that they shot him, and they were saying like, oh, this poor guy, they shot him, at a traffic stop, but the fact that he literally dragged a police officer, he resisted arrest, he tried to ram a vehicle. Yeah, you're gonna get shot, stupid. Jesus. DHS reported that the officer who opened fire had been seriously injured during the encounter, but body-worn camera footage first obtained by the Sun-Times shows that he described his injuries as nothing major shortly after the shooting. So this story is still developing, so there'll be more details as it comes. I do want to bring up this other article. This has to do with the fact that with the rhetoric that you're getting from Mayor Brendan Johnson and the rhetoric that you're getting from Governor Pritzker, all they're doing is escalating the situation. They are not trying to bring down the temperature. They want this to escalate out of control. And this is not going to help their situation. This is not going to help them for re-election. They think it will, but it won't. And they need to bring down the temperature. Instead, they're doubling down and they're blaming Trump and the right. And the right has nothing to do with this. All the ICE doing is their job. They literally, that's all they're doing. They get deportation orders. They go and look for the person. They pick them up, and that's it. Now, it's not their fault that you are a sanctuary city. It's not ICE's fault that because of their sanctuary policies that you have Brandon Johnson and Governor Pritzker that's not allowing ICE to go into jails to go pick up these illegals that are already set for deportation. The fact that you have these people pushing back and not allowing that is why it's getting out of control. Because ICE has to go into the communities to go look for these people. Had they did it the right way and just held these people at the jails, they would never be in the communities. So this is literally on the hands of, the blood is on Brandon Johnson's hands. The blood is on Pritzker's hands because they're choosing not to follow the law. They're choosing not to help ICE do their job, which is a federal law. Plain and simple. They can run their mouth and lie all they want and spew propaganda, but it's all BS. And I'm telling you that right now. So from the Center for Strategic and Internal Studies, left-wing terrorism incidents are on the rise. The first half of 2025 has marked by an increase of left-wing terrorist attacks and plots in the United States, which continues a trend noticeably over the last decade. In absolute terms, left-wing incidents are on track in 2025 and reach historical levels in the last 30 years, as shown in the figure 1. From 1994 through 2000, there's an average of 0.6 left-wing incidents annually. In the following decade, the figure doubled to 1.3 a year. Numbers been growing substantially. However, in 2016, from 2016 to 2024, they averaged between 4.0 a year through July 4th of 2025. Thus, excluding the Kirk attack, there were 5 left-wing attacks or plots which set trajectories for a record-breaking year in the last 30 years. So as you see here, it's just going up. Like, I don't care what Brandon Johnson or, Pritzker says, or anybody else on the left, like The View and all of them. They're all a bunch of propagandists. They're all a bunch of liars. CNN, all of them. They're all fake news. They're all lying. They're all full of crap. Numbers don't lie. The fact that you have the left escalating, and I'm constantly showing you videos of that, that's proof. They can lie about it all they want and tell you, don't believe your lying eyes. No, it's happening. The problem is that most people get their news from Facebook clips or CNN or MSNBC, NBC, ABC, The View, and all they're doing is telling you guys lies. It is time to now take the red pill and wake the F up. Now, I'm going to show you this last article because this is just going to solidify it for you guys. But this is from the Washington Post. Left-wing actors responsible for more attacks this year, report says. So far in 2025, incidents of the left-wing violence has risen while those from the extreme right have plummeted. And this was written in September 25th of 2025. So the fact that this is crazy, right? The fact that this is telling you that the left violence is on the rise. And the right, even though they like to say that the right is violent, it's actually going down. Make it make sense. The nature of domestic terrorism has undergone a striking reversal this year. New research indicates for the first time in more than 30 years, left-wing attacks are outnumbering those from the far right. And mind you, they're saying left-wing attacks. They're not saying far left. They're saying left-wing. So that means people from the left, from the actual left, going all the way to extreme left-wing are doing this. Where for the people on the right, it's literally they're saying the extreme right. They're not talking about normal right people because normal right people don't do that. They follow the law. Most of the people on the right follow the law. So the reason the left-wing incidents this year have outpaced right-wing incidents is twofold. The researchers said, first, the number of incidents of the right-wing terror plummeted this year to levels not seen during the study period. In seeking to explain the drop in right-wing incidents, researchers speculated that it's because of the Trump administration policies on immigration and diversity programs. It is probably that at least some extremists do not feel the need to act violently. While the number of the right-wing incidents dropped, the researchers said the number of the left-wing incidents rose. What our data shows us is that indeed the left-wing violence has risen in the last 10 years, and that 2025 marks the first time left-wing incidents have outnumbered those from the violent far right, says Riley McCabe, an associate fellow of the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a nonpartisan think tank and co-author of this research. A political polarization has deepened across the United States in recent years. Social scientists have been tallying and categorizing incidents of domestic terror, informing a debate that itself has become political. Which side spawns more violence? This month, killing of Charlie Kirk, the conservative speaker, has inflamed the debate. On Monday, in the wake of the Kirk Memorial, President Donald Trump signed an executive order designating Antifa, the decentralized left movement, as a domestic terrorist organization, which proves the point. Because, again, the very first article I talked to you about, these are the extremists that are doing this. Now, we're not talking about your normal left-wing people. So you probably know some people like that. Like, I know somebody in my family that's left-wing, and they're not violent. But then you have those crazy left-wing people that are like Antifa, the ones that are LARPing. In previous video, you guys saw them when I showed you the videos. Those people, they need to go back on their reds. And that's who they're talking about. As a domestic terrorist organization, then on Wednesday, a fatal shooting at the Dallas Immigration and Customs Enforcement facilities spurred Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance to take aim again at the Democrats, with Trump identifying radical leftists as the cause, which they were, because the person that was doing that literally admitted that they were trying to murk ICE, not the immigrants, but they ended up hitting the immigrants, and guess who was trying to save the immigrants? ICE. Funny how that goes, right? Other researchers in the field cautioned that such analysis depend on definition of terrorism, and some question whether it was possible to categorize incidents as left-wing and right-wing. The CSIS reports defines terrorism as the use of threat and premeditated violence by non-state actors with the intent to achieve political goals by creating a broad psychological impact. Events categorized as left-wing include those motivated by supportive and environmental causes, black nationalism, LGBTQ plus rights, anti-fascist theories, rhetoric or opposition to capitalism, imperialism, or colonialism. Events categorized as right-wing include the motive by nations of racial and ethnic supremacy, oppositions to government authority, opposition to abortion, the QAnon, you also have Blue Anon on the left, just saying, conspiracy theory and hatred based on sexuality and gender identity. They also said that the extreme right and the extreme left do not correspond in mainstream political parties in the United States, such as the Republican and Democratic parties, which is a lie, because most of the people on the left that are like Antifa, they are, and like the black nationalists, they're all, and LGBTQ, they're all Dems. They literally vote blue, and they came at people for not voting for Kamala Harris. Like, thank God we dodged that bullet, right? In all, they compiled a data set of 750 terrorist attacks and plots in the United States from January 1994 through July 4th, 2025, drawing from academic database, federal law enforcement press release, and news accounts. So as you can tell, left-wing violence is on the rise. It is, and it's just going to get worse. And you know what? I'm going to bring more news as it unfolds to you guys, but I want you guys to stay safe. You know, it sucks that we're living through this time. It's like, I thought when Trump was in office that all of this craziness, like when we were living through all these different catastrophes with Biden in office, I thought this was going to end, but it's just getting even more crazier and out of control. And it's not coming from the right, it's coming from the left. And I don't know, we need to figure this out, because I just worry about the normies that are stuck in the middle of this, because nobody deserves to be injured, nobody deserves to be murked. You know, I wish people would just do what like Charlie Kirk said and, you know, use your voice, you know, have a conversation, you know. And the thing that sucks about that is that when conversation stops, that's when violence happens. That's when it starts. And so we all need to look back and reflect, because this is just going to keep escalating. And, you know, not to, you know, stand on a soapbox, but I did a video recently about civil war, and it just seems we keep getting pushed further down that line where we're headed towards that. Right now we're in civil strife, but with all this violence that's happening, we literally are already at the precipice of it. Did we already pass that Rubicon with the assassination of Charlie Kirk? I don't know. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me if you think we're headed to a civil war. Are we there? Do you think that this is just going to keep getting worse before it gets better? Just let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. You guys have a great day. Stay safe.